Hello, welcome to the Werewolf by Night bonus show. This is a show we make each and every week for our loyal patrons. We talk about werewolf media, we're going to talk about a movie, and sometimes we talk about weird shit. And this episode, we're going to be talking about some weird shit. We're going to talk about some shit. Yeah, we both do. And we love weird and obscure music, and we're going to talk about one of the most obscure and weirdest things I've ever heard. So, yeah, but first off, we are going to talk about a film called Another Wolfcop. We had seen the first one and had done an episode on that, and we both really liked it. We thought the first one was pretty fucking cool and very goofy, and had kind of a real good balance of goofy and intentionally silly. Yet this was obviously, this guy's auteur vision as well, and it had that balance pretty well. So this is the sequel that was made a couple years later, and maybe wasn't as good as the original one. But we're gonna discuss it a little bit.
I just want to come out of the gate here and say that I fucking love this movie.
Yeah, you did.
I had an absolute blast with it. Yeah. I came in saying, like, everyone says it sucks and it's a sequel and it's got sequelitis, and I was like, this is so fucking fun. Like, it's embracing that.
I think I should come out of the gate and say, yeah, I didn't like it as much as the first one, but I expected to hate it because, I mean, we've talked with people we told people, we're like, yeah, we're going to do the Wolfcop sequel. And they're like, oh, it's fucking awful. And so I went in expecting it to be terrible. I mean, it's terrible. Like, there are lots of things that are terrible about it, but it is really fun. It is definitely entertained. Fun. Oh yeah, I mean it's shockingly entertaining. So
yeah,
I mean, it starts off. So the bad guy in this is played by Canadian TV star Yannick Bisson, who is best known for playing Detective Murdoch on Murdoch Mysteries. I don't know if you've ever seen that show. It's the stupidest fucking show that's ever been made.
Murdoch Mysteries.
It's like a mystery. He's a detective. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's around the turn of the century. Sometimes it seems later. It's so bad and so stupid.
16 seasons?
Yeah, it's so poorly written, but is also kind of like so bad it's fun to watch kind of thing. I don't hate watch stuff because I don't have that time in my life. But Murdoch Mysteries is truly awful. But we did kind of hate watch it for a while, and it is really bad. So it was nice to see he plays a real goody, very morally upright detective in that. And so it was nice to see him as the bad guy, which, he plays a kind of a rich bad guy named Sidney Swallows. And he has come in to the town that Wolfcop takes place in and has bought the brewery. And so his new product is called Chicken Milk Beer. And what's the slogan? Is slam a cold cock.
Slam a cold cock. Yeah, it's a stout apparently, and
it's a stout. That's the button on the joke that makes it good.
Yeah,
like if it was a lager or something, it wouldn't be as funny. But it's a stout.
Yeah, or porter. Yeah,
called Chicken Milk.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some commentary here as far as like, he's coming into this dying small town and coming back to it. I think just coming to it and revitalizing a brewery. It's been like shuttered for 20 years or something like that, and he's turning it into a brewery / hockey stadium and bringing a new team in. So this guy is the great white hope of this small dying Canadian town. Meanwhile, what we've missed since the previous installment is that Lou Garou continues to do his stuff. He tries to lock himself up and stay in like a auto parts garage and drink beer and eat donuts and just watch TV and not go out and raise hell. But he seems to not be able to fully not go out and bust criminals.
Yeah, he's a vigilante at night, and he's become this kind of folk hero myth that some people believe in, but he also has a ton of merch that is for sale at the convenience store, at the Liquor Donuts store. And You'll also recognize Kevin Smith, who plays the interim mayor, Bubba Rich.
That was such a fun surprise.
It was kind of a fun surprise. Normally, Kevin Smith really, really annoys me in a lot of ways. And I realized that watching this, I'm like, oh, as long as he's not a 50-year-old man with a backwards baseball cap, I'm like, it's the fucking backwards baseball cap. Yeah. I'm like, you are too old, dude. And he was wearing like a fur like parka with ears. Right. And I was like,
3XL jersey and the backwards baseball.
That shit, I cannot abide it. I hate Kevin Smith because of that. I'm just like, motherfucker, come on. He did a Q&A at one of the Comic-Cons when Bill and Ted 3 was coming out. And so I watched that because of Chris Matheson. And he had his backwards baseball cap and his fucking hockey jersey, and I just wanted to murder him just for his wardrobe because I'm that shallow. Yeah. But no, he's actually really great in this. It was really funny.
He was hilarious.
Yeah, he was great.
There's like 3 scenes, I think.
Yeah, but all of them are super great.
Yeah.
So Lou's best friend Willie is a big part of this movie. We know he was like I kind of forget from the first one. He ended up, he was a shapeshifter in the first one. So it wasn't actually him.
My immediate question was, I thought he was revealed to be a bad guy in the last act of the last film. Am I crazy?
No, he was, but now they're kind of, I mean, not retcon isn't the right word, but they're explaining that. They're explaining that by being, no, remember, because he talks about in the beginning how he was kidnapped by aliens and probed. And so he was on the ship, and there was a shapeshifter that was playing Willie.
So he wasn't himself.
He wasn't even himself in the first film for most of it, I think.
Well, Jonathan Cherry as Willie Higgins is super fucking charming again, and steals the movie in my opinion in many ways.
I mean, this is as goofy as a movie can fucking get. I mean, we'll give away some of it, but yeah.
Wait, before we jump in though. Another cast member is Kay Devery Jacobs. Mm-hmm. She plays a recruit on the police force, and she's in the lead in Reservation Dogs, and she's fucking awesome, and I love her.
Okay.
Like immediately saw her and was like, oh my God, she's in this. She's rad. So, if you haven't seen Reservation Dogs, please watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, so I mean, God, I mean, this movie, you just have to see it. It's silly to explain all of the goofiness that goes on, but I mean, some of the things that happen. I mean,
some of the stuff's out of the gate. I mean, like the alien invasion. Willie gets returned to Earth, so we meet Millie for the first time, and he has an alien-esque birth scene coming out of his navel. Mm-hmm. And there is a little Willie that has a little mustache and even kind of sounds like him, but pitched up.
It's foul-mouthed.
Talks to him, and he's foul-mouthed. This movie's funny as shit. I was laughing through a lot of this. I laughed. I don't laugh a lot out loud at movies. I laughed like 4 or 5 times at this.
No, I mean, and these jokes are so broad and so goofy, but the execution of them, they go to a strip club that's called Club Fuck, like spelled PHOUQ. And they're robots. Somehow this rich brewer, Sidney Swallows, is building robots that become his hockey team, kind of, that are like cyborgs. But there's also an alien invasion thing. And I mean, I think 5 minutes into the movie, after you see Lou in his like little room where he sits and watches TV, get a shot of a giant wolf dick, which we got a huge part of. I mean, there was the penis first transformation from the first film that sealed it for me. But yeah, so there's Willie's sister comes in, who is also kind of a werecat. Almost, and you get an insane sex scene and
a hilarious sex scene.
A hilariously funny sex scene. And
oh my God.
Yeah, it's just fucking bonkers.
I just laughed and drank beer and had a great time with it. So like I was shocked that people were like, yeah, if you like the first one, prepare yourself for the second one to suck. I was like, I thought the second one was as fun in
it's totally different,
more extreme way. Yeah, oh yeah. But I mean like it's very self-aware. Like there was a promotional poster that had him. It's recreating the art for Cobra, the Stallone movie, saying like, Steve's the disease and he is the cure. Like it's a joke. The whole thing's a fucking joke. So they jumped the whole thing up. It went to me immediately to like Neon Joe Werewolf Hunter territory. Like really fast.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really
broad, really weird,
very broad, very weird.
So I loved it. I love seeing Jonathan Cherry as Willie Higgins talking to a giant
penis-like
shaped version of himself with a mustache who was like, he's arguing with like punching it and like it was
getting it stoned,
getting it high, blowing weed in his face. He's like, don't bogart the fucking joint. It was hilarious.
It was really over the top funny.
Yeah. It was much more broad and much more whatever than the first one was, but I thought that's what the sequel to Wolfcop should be. So I had zero issues with this. I thought this was super fucking fun. It was great to see Leo Fafford again as Lou Garou. It was great to see Amy Maticio, whatever her name is, as the she's been elevated to the police chief, which she should, because she's the one person who's sane in that town on the police force. I loved it. I thought it was really fun. It was
really, really fun.
Okay. Just didn't know if I was crazy or not. Like I was
no, you're not crazy. I think the first one's a better film. Like the first one, it's a better film. I mean, I don't think that's that's inarguable. But the second one is kind of what you would want out of a sequel. It's not retreading the same territory. It's just like the first Wolfcop movie. Just snorted a bunch of cocaine and drank gallons of Surge. And,
and there is a type of cocaine invented for this mythos,
moon dust,
which is a moon rock comes back from the moon and is ground into dust and snorted by werewolves, and that jacks them up. Like,
man!
If any of this is appealing to you, you're gonna love this. Like, me, this was the natural progression from the first one to this one. Like. Yeah, it was hilarious.
It's pretty easy to find online, so you can find it on Pluto, on other stuff. So if any of this sounds like fun to you, definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's the same emotional vibe and same like DNA as the first one, as far as like metal music and liquor donuts and all those little things you liked. But this one just takes it to the next level of like Neon Joe Werewolf Hunter, of like alien invasion, and it gets weirder and weirder and weirder as it goes. And if you're in, you're going to have a good time. If you didn't like the first one, you're going to hate this one.
You will hate it.
I loved it. I was shocked by how much I enjoyed this watch. So I just kept kind of thinking while I was watching, like, God, do I have to apologize to Jacob or what's...
You don't have to apologize.
Yeah. Good deal. Okay, so it's a claw up for me, man.
It's a claw up for me too. It was fun. It's not good. I mean, I'm not going to say it's cinema, but it was fun as hell.
It was fun as hell, man.
Yeah.
All the little jokes, like the fact how they monetized and marketed like the Wolfcop, like in that convenience store where it's like
he has his own gitch.
Yeah, he has his own gitch, which I had to look up again. I was embarrassed.
It's just underwear.
Like, I know underwear. I looked up gitch the first time we watched this. What is gitch again? Oh, it's underwear. Okay,
just underwear.
So fun. So we're going to totally shift gears here and switch to a totally different thing, which is it's not free, unfortunately, online, but it's November. It's from 2017. And it's like kind of a folk horror film from Europe. So I've been wanting to see this for years, since I joined Shudder. It's no longer on Shudder now, unfortunately, but I downloaded it and I have a file to share with you.
Cool.
So you can check it out, but I really love some of the stuff like The Witch, and there was a German film I forget the name of that was very much like The Witch too. That's like these kind of like modern retellings of like witch myths and kind of repurposing them to modern times. Like what did this mean at the time? Fascinating stuff. But Hagazuza is the name of the German film I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Which is also on Shudder, I hope. But yeah, The Witch and Hagazuza are amazing. So I'm hoping November's good.
We'll see. I'm excited to check it out. So I guess I'll preface this next section. We're going to talk about some really outsider music that I just listened to the day of this recording. My Aunt Trudy, my dad's sister, has always kind of been my hero since I was little. She's always been very strange and has done her own thing. She got her master's in folklore. She lived near Antarctica for a while. She just always lived in these weird like communities, these weird, strange fucking communities. And she was part of this really historic boathouse community that was on the Mississippi River in Winona, Minnesota. And it was called Latch Island. And and it was Upper Latch Island, and Lower Latch Island was also called Wolf Spider Island, which is very fucking cool. And yeah, it was just a community of weirdos and outsiders. And Trudy had let me know that she was interviewed for a podcast that was called Back Channel Radio. It was done by a woman named Gina Favano, who's also kind of an outsider musician, but she has been living on Wolf Spider Island the last like 10 years or maybe more. And it's a community that's still going on. And so she made this series to kind of document the history of this community, which is really, really interesting. I highly recommend listening to the entire podcast. There's like 6 episodes, and then there's 6 like little mini bonus things that go with each episode. It's not that long. I mean, the episodes are maybe like half hour, 40 minutes each.
I'm completely intrigued just by the pitch you've told me. Like, just this seems like a capsule, like human thing that I care about.
It's very cool. And it's just interviews the people, the elders that had been there since the 70s. And it was this crazy community. They're totally off the grid. They have to find their own power. They have to bring in their own water. They're just like, and Trudy lived there for a long time, like in the 80s up to the 90s. And so it's interesting, like the county and the city always tried to shut them down because they were basically just like a weird homeless camp that was on the water almost, of just these people. And like the second episode talks about this man who is kind of like the historian who just died this year at 87, and he moved there in his 40s, and he was a ex-priest who had grown up gay and was it's just his entire story of like leaving the brotherhood and coming out in his own and deciding that he wanted to live with the weirdos and outsiders in this community. And it was just like his story is kind of heartbreaking.
This is like what I care about, like in life. Like these stories are what I want to hear.
You will love the show. Like, it's really, really well done. And his story was just fucking amazing and heartbreaking. And so, yeah, he was the historian. And so I heard all these stories about this place growing up from Trudy. Trudy ended up being like a president. They actually had to kind of try to incorporate to fight the city from trying to evict all of them. The city would evict all of them, and they were in like floating homes that in the Midwest they call boathouses, even though they're not. That's not really what we would call them here. And so they basically
what do you mean? What's the difference?
Well, there's houseboats, which is like a houseboat or floating home. My dad built floating homes and houseboats on the Columbia and on the Willamette here in Oregon. And like a boathouse is like a garage for your boats.
Oh,
on the West Coast. Okay. But in the Midwest and on the Mississippi, the boathouses are basically ramshackle floating homes. And the city would try and evict them, and they would just unmoor their boats and go anchor them like 30 feet away because they can't do anything because they're on the Mississippi now. They're not moored to the land. And it was just fucking awesome. And so, and these people that they're interviewed are so cool and weird. And there was a woman that was named Leslie Eaton who lived there for a very, very long time. And she has some really interesting beliefs. It wasn't the same. I mean, we've talked about this on the show and on bonus shows before. You know, conspiracy culture in the 70s to the 90s was kind of fun and weird and didn't destroy the fabric of America. And you know, this is X-Files period and different things like that. And so this woman, Leslie Eaton, you know, definitely believed in lizard people and aliens and alien abductions and crazy shit. And she was a songwriter and was in a kind of an experimental band. And they ended up writing all these, she ended up writing all these songs about aliens that were kind of lost. Like, I guess the story, well, yeah, you listened to the episode, is the story that all these songs were on a website and one of the band members died whose job was hosting the site, and the website disappeared. And so they thought all this music was lost. Leslie didn't have any of it. And this woman who's the host, Gina Favano, she was going through like some of the tapes of one of the other band members who had died and found this unlabeled cassette that was like a mix of a bunch of their songs. There's like backwards looping on some of it. There's like avant-garde, like weird saxophone, but a lot of them are like straight kind of like almost cowboy or like folk songs that are all about aliens. A lot about cattle mutilation. I've never heard lyrics that had like cows' rectums and stuff in them.
I was herding my doggies in the San Luis Valley. The cattle were lowing on a clear mountain night. I thought being a cowpoke was right up my alley, till out of the sky shone a bright, eerie light. I stood gazing in wonder as a round craft descended. I thought it was angels come down from on high. When a bright beam shot down, my opinion I amended. It touched on a cow and drew her up in the sky. Yippee-ki-yay, get away from my doggies. I raised them from babies, and them cows is mine. Yippee-ki-yay-yo, get away from my doggies. The beings that steal them must sure be malign. So I then fled in terror and hid in a shadow. The cattle were running all over the place. I came back in daylight, found my cow in a meadow. They taken her rectum and the lips off her face. They'd cut her up, drained all her fluids and dropped her. The terrible sight haunts me still to this day. But it wasn't over yet, for a black helicopter came over the mountain and chased me away.
And it's some of it is really kind of terrible and hilarious, and there are parts that are really genius and kind of beautiful. I don't know, Matt, going into it, like just I sent you the episode
ice
that was
cold.
just I sent it to you ice cold, just barely gave you a little bit of the history. And what did you think?
So I have a little bit of experience with outsider art and like music and stuff. So when you said it was like cattle mutilation rock and roll, I kind of had a expectation. So the first song didn't surprise me much, but the second song sounded like something off Bone Machine or like Rain Dogs. And I was like, oh, she hired like, or somehow she had access to like saxophone players and like.
Yeah, no, that was her band. It was called like the Weird Winonans, I think. And it was like a little musical
that's
collective.
what that is okay.
Yeah.
She mentions them. Okay. So yeah, as like some arrangements became more complex, I was like, wow, she really was into this. Like, and I have no idea what the span of time was in the songs that I heard, but like, she gets to like Maury Povich and Baby Daddy and stuff, and it's like, has she been singing about this for like 10 years? Like, is this covering all this time?
Yeah, I think that the cassette is basically like a greatest hits mix that they made at some point. This is on cassette. Yeah. And I think that most of these songs were done from the late 70s to the early 90s, I think, is when she was recording. I mean, I think most of the stuff sounds like it was from like maybe the mid 80s to the early 90s, I think, is where I would put these recordings. But yeah, I mean, it's bonkers. And I think that it fits. I mean, if you decide to go and kind of down this rabbit hole and listen to this podcast series, it's perfect. I think having the context of that, because I'd almost listened to the entire thing, and I'd heard this woman be interviewed about aliens and just wanting to live her weirdo life on a dilapidated house on the Mississippi. Yeah, it made a lot more sense, but I thought you would like it just from the weirdo outsider shit. And this is a podcast that I mean, it's not. I mean, it just the last couple episodes just came out. I don't think it's super well listened to, and I
would doubt it.
And
Seems
so
very niche.
Yeah, it's very niche. And so I felt like when I was listening to this found cassette on this very niche podcast, I was like, oh, this is as outsider and weird and as obscure as you're going to get.
We need to spread this.
I just think it was super entertaining. Some of it was really like, yeah, you're right. You're just like, what the fuck? Suddenly this became really cool and like avant-garde. And then it would just be her singing about, wanting Maury Povich to help her find the alien
baby daddy,
and fucking hilarious.
That last song about like, the real cure to the alien problem is rock and roll.
It's rock and roll.
Little Richard,
blasting Little Richard.
That's like Brian Wilson's solution. Like Brian Wilson's 1975 solution to an alien invasion. Like, let's just play rock and roll, man.
Oh, it'll kill him. So funny. Like
I was fascinated.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I have no regrets about listening to it. I just, it's weird because like a song or two would come up where I'm like, oh, she has other interests. And then it would be like, oh, nope, there's aliens. There's a cattle mutilation. Okay. She's definitely concerned about these grays.
Oh, man.
He hates them grays. She wants a friendly alien.
She does. I don't know. I just felt like, I don't know. I felt that weird rush of when, I'm a record collector and I for years, my entire life, I've bought home recordings, and it's one of those things where you buy these discs that have no labels. Yeah. You put them on and most of the time it's shit, but sometimes you find something garbage. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm the only person to have heard this in like 70 years and this is incredible. And I felt like that listening to this.
No, I felt like that listening to it too. I was like, holy shit, did you, I know you didn't find it, but like you found this podcast, which is very niche.
Yeah.
I want to spread the word about this. I want people to hear it.
I really think that people should listen to this show. It's really well done. I mean, it's like an NPR style, like kind of documentary. It's very well produced. Like it's extremely well produced. And they obviously, I think they got grants from like a Minnesota art, like a museum or a cultural thing. And it's very, very well done. And it's a fascinating story. And it's a story that I have family connections with. Like I heard stories about Wolf Spider Island when I was a kid. And I just thought, yeah, my Aunt Trudy's my hero. She just is. She's always lived outside of the norm and is very well educated, is very smart, is very artistic, and is a great writer. I've always just, I don't know, she's just always followed her own path and hasn't really cared about possessions or getting ahead in the world, and has just always done really cool shit. And this was really neat to see her interviewed or hear her interviewed for this.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's weird slice of life. Like when you shared this on the Discord, I think, or it was, I was like, it's frustrating thinking about like how many stories like this are there out there that are just like languishing in obscurity that people don't have access to. Like I'm a fucking documentary junkie. Like you told me about this, I'm like, I'm on it. I'm gonna listen to the whole goddamn thing. I love that stuff. Just realizing like you can never hear every story. It's frustrating.
No, and that's what was so cool. Like the woman that produced this obviously cared enough about it. It's just like, my God, just like you were saying, like this is a story that needs to be told. And she realized that one of her friends, one of the old, real elders who had lived there longer than anyone, had also was also functioning as a historian and had saved clippings and had documented everything about every generation that had happened since the 70s. And I think when she found this archive and realized what he had done, that she had to produce this series. And I know it's a labor of love, and she's put a lot of time and effort into it. So it's it just made me feel okay to be human.
Yeah. No, I love that. I can't wait to hear the whole series. And yeah, documentary work like this, like the stuff that Errol Morris does, like it just makes me feel more connected to humanity. Like it's like grounding to me.
Yeah, it's grounding to me too, because you realize like, oh no, human stories are the most important thing. They're the most important thing on earth.
Yep.
And that made me, listening to this and listening to this woman's bonkers music and listening to my aunt being interviewed, I was just like, oh yeah, I feel better.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. We'll definitely put some links in the show notes on this, so you can check out the show and check out that episode of Leslie's music.
Definitely. All right. So next time we'll talk about November.
That's right.
And I will do some Kickstarter catch up.
Cool.
I think Secret Voice by Zach Soto.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you've talked to me about that before. That was cool.
I've wanted to do this for a while, so it's overdue. Yeah.
No, I'm it's funny, we were talking with Jamie in the main show about you're saying that you just read comics now, which I felt like I've done forever, and you were like, I used to read Cormac McCarthy. And I was like, well, my son took a long train trip with his partner like back to Michigan for Thanksgiving. And he was like, oh, you've recommended it to me like way earlier than you should have. And I'm finally going to get around to read it. I'm going to read Blood Meridian. And so I'm like, well, it's the greatest book ever written. And I'm going to read it with you. I'm going to read it for like I'm going to read it for like the 20th time. And so that's what I'm reading right now. I'm like, oh, I'm actually not reading comics at night. I'm reading horrifyingly beautiful stuff.
How's that going?
Oh, I love it. I love it every time. It's the most beautiful book ever written. And it's also the most horrifying book that any human has ever written.
It's got baby trees and it's got
everything. It's got fucking everything. And I love it. So that's what I'm at night. Yeah, I'm switching back and forth. I'm reading Blood Meridian again for the, I don't know how many time. And I'm reading that Marvel Horror magazine compilation that you sent me. That's a lot of it's kind of a best of the black and white horror mags.
Yeah.
That Michael's reading as well. So yeah, I'll maybe talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, cool. I need to reread Blood Meridian. It's been years.
Yeah, I got I'm gonna go through like my favorite McCarthy now. I'm gonna go through my favorite McCarthy and my favorite Faulkner. So I got out Suttree, which is my other favorite McCarthy book, and then I'm gonna read Absalom, which is my favorite Faulkner. So
those are in my opinion, the two most challenging works from both of those authors.
Suttree is no, I don't think you're crazy at all. I mean, I think Suttree is his longest novel by far. And
it's the most obtuse.
It's the most obtuse. It's also actually the least dark as well. You could say that.
That's true.
It's not
Child of God.
It's not Child of God. So, and Absalom, I don't know why. I mean, I honestly think, I don't know. I mean, structurally, like Sound and the Fury is more challenging.
Really?
As I lay dying,
like Absalom's okay.
I think it's the most, I don't know.
I feel like I got a key with Sound of the Fury that unlocked the whole text, whereas Absalom felt like it was intentionally obtuse the entire time I was reading it. And I love that it was punching me in the face the whole time I was reading it and saying, like, I defy you to make sense of this.
But I mean, I know all of Faulkner's works are connected in some way, but I mean, Quentin is the framing device in Absalom. Yeah. Like he's in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
Like it's almost a sequel, really. To Sound and the Fury, I would say, more than any of his other works.
Yeah, I find the main character so hard to wrap my head around, I guess, that I had a hard time with the Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about that particular prose of Faulkner's. I don't know why. I mean, those are just the ones. I mean, Blood Meridian's my favorite McCarthy by far. And then I think, Suttree after that. But yeah, Absalom is my go-to Faulkner. I just keep going back to it.
It's so
I'm not trying to be that guy. Those are just the ones that I like the best.
Like Sound of the Fury, I feel like I get the most. Like I got the key at one point, and I understood every layer of prose, but like Absalom, and some of the stuff, I just feel like I'm not quite there yet. I don't know.
I don't know. I would retry Absalom.
Okay.
I don't think. I don't know. I didn't have the same experience reading
Okay.
it, and I feel like Sound and the Fury. If you're just coming into it, I think the structure and the style of the prose is more challenging.
Okay.
Maybe it was for me. I don't know. But I love Faulkner and I love McCarthy, and I think they're of the same ilk. Obviously, like everyone says that, and that's not new fact. But yeah, they're the literary America that I love more than others.
Me too. Well, I'm a huge Steinbeck guy. I have to admit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, I love Steinbeck, I love Hemingway, but I know it's not cool anymore.
Oh, what a bummer. I still read The Sun Also Rises every couple of years. That's my favorite.
Me too.
Hemingway, by far.
Yeah. All right. Well,
got literary there at the end.
yeah,
Wow.
Really? I feel it.
Highbrow.
Yeah. Classy.
We normally talk about kids' comics.
Well, right on. Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it as always. So, yeah, like you said, we'll be talking about November next episode, talking about what we're reading, getting back to a little normal bonus show material. Thanks for coming along on our little detour into weirdness. But yeah, from us here at the show, may your fur never bristle in the moonlight.
Stay for your friends.
People love that.